Welcome, everyone, to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past shows are podcasts. You can find them at ArtistFirst.com. We welcome your email questions and comments to dj@ArtistFirst.com. Here they are, your co-hosts, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, C-Man. And
I'm Margaret.
She's Margaret, and I'm Michael. Or am I? I could be indecisive about that.
No.
No. I could be.
You can try.
I'm not. Neither you nor I are much of a ditherer. You know, we just. You folks who've been listening to us for a while probably have figured out that we're both what they call reds. In other words, we decide and go. You show us two options and we go option whatever, A or B, and boom, we're off to the races. We don't hang around too much in the middle. But tonight's show we are going to be talking about indecision.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there's pros and cons to both of those things. You know, if you are somebody who's able to make up their mind quickly and decisively, you may make a mistake. In fact, you may make lots of mistakes, and you may find that, you know, sometimes you can trust your intuition, sometimes you can't. But our quote tonight is by our old buddy Marcus Tullius, MT, we like to call him. We've been entertaining Cicero now for a couple of times. We have a couple of shows on Cicero's quotes, and he is very, very pithy, quite the guy. And this one's an interesting one we ran into when we were looking up the other Cicero quote. So you want me to do it, or are you sure? We won't be indecisive about that. Anyway, MT says that more is lost by indecision than wrong decision. Indecision is the thief of opportunity. It will steal you blind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a country western song.
It'll steal you blind.
It will steal you blind. Marcus, MT might have been from Montana. Or maybe not. But you know, it's short, it's sweet, but it's very. I think you said it's very germane to the zeitgeist, to the current times, because there's a large portion of the populace who is having a little kind of shall I or shan't I, you know, will I do this, will I do that, will I be a sheep, will I be a goat, will I be this, you know, a little bit of wanting to be on both sides of every question, almost in the vain hope of not offending anyone.
Mm-hmm. And just that middle road does not exist.
It doesn't really exist.
You must make a decision. And that's usually what I think most people rebel against. It, don't force me to make a decision. It's like, well, it's not me really forcing you.
And when you decide you have to commit to a course of action, you have to commit, meaning when you commit, you're going to make. Let's say, you know, if you're in, there are two camps and you have to choose one versus the other. Well, you know, you say, well, I'm going to alienate all these people. You know, if I say I'm on red team or blue team or green team or yellow team, I'm on yellow team. Well, everyone else on all the other teams is going to hate me. And you see people almost weighing this. Well, are there enough people who think the way that I think I want to think? So, you know, it's sort of, and this is kind of what Cicero is talking about here.
True. Whether or not you take the fact in that you want the opinion of other people. That would be my first question. Whose opinion matters here for you? and what is the decision? Who's going to be bearing the weight of that decision?
Yeah, that's another good one. The first, though, about the opinion, if you're making your, let's say, life decisions by sticking your finger in the air and seeing which way the wind is blowing, you wouldn't say that they're actually decisions. You're allowing the world or others to decide for you. You're not even guiding your own path. You're really saying, well, what's popular now? In what course of action will I be sort of safe, if you will, not get judged, not stand out, not be principled.
Well, the line of least resistance is what you're talking about, and that doesn't work because you wind up to be the tail end of everything, and the tail always gets smacked into things. It's the truth. It's like, yeah, well, I could, I could go here or go there, but it's like, okay, I'm just going to hang here. I want to float and see which way the tides take me. And it's like, okay. The tides don't care about you. Did you know that?
You could.
No, and you will wind up floating along with the mass of movement. But is that where you really want to be?
So as we go through life, we're inevitably faced with these types of decision points, if you will. One could say it's really instant by instant. You have to decide, in the moment of now, always something. But I think people look at their lives as sort of periods of relatively, inconsequential decisions. Shall I have this or that for breakfast? And then some significant thing happens. You're basically called upon to take a stand or take a position, do the right thing or the wrong thing, or at least evaluate. You have to. It's put upon you. And at that moment, Margaret, a lot of people will sit back and go, "Why? Why do I have to decide? Well, I don't want to decide." They reject the moment of decision in fear, or just almost like it is, why do I have to do this? Can't I go back to just choosing between eggs or sausage? It's a rejection of being put into a spot where it's either yes or no. There is no middle ground, if you will. The apparent the illusion, we talked about this earlier, that time gives you the illusion of this middle ground, that you can sort of float along. But it is really an illusion, and it can become a very toxic illusion, that somehow if I don't make a decision, or if I allow myself to kind of just float along, that everything will always be okay.
Yeah, well, it'll never happen. I'll just make no decision, and I'll float along with the flow, and it'll just be fine. Nothing will really happen, and it is exactly that. It is an illusion due to time. You put time on it, you basically think that I can float here forever.
That phrase, people will say, "Oh, I have time. I have time. I don't have to decide right now." Or you'll put a choice in front of somebody and say, "Well, do you want to do this or that?" And they'll say, "Well, I don't want to decide right now, because in essence, then I'm committed." I almost, to the sense of what MT says here is that you lose, and he said in the first sentence, you lose by that. Well, I have time. I don't have to decide. Yes, the fear is perhaps, beyond anything else, well, what if I choose the wrong thing? You hear that all the time. What if I choose the wrong thing? I have to do more research. I have to think about it. I have to gather my facts. I have to evaluate. So that is an excuse. well, I need more info, I need more info, I need more info. There's a certain point at which no additional amount of information will inform your decision-making process. Then it becomes just a stalling tactic. You can hear, people like that. They're just, I have to, could be this, could be that, could be this, could be that. And they just go right along there thinking, time stops and I can just dither.
What it reminds me of, because I believe a lot of people are not conscious of the fact that that's what they're doing.
Yes, that's true.
And what it reminds me of is, I can wait on this. It's like a security blanket where they hug it to their face. Oh no, I can wait on this, and hug that, thinking that okay, because they know that they're afraid to make the decision, and I can wait on this is supposed to comfort them, but you're not looking at your now moment in that place, in space and time, evaluating what opportunity is actually here. You want to do your research, but you're allowing the mind to take full control, and the mind loves details. You have to pay attention to the mind when it's all details. Your mental wants to make checklists.
Pros and cons like this.
But when you sit and ask your heart, what's going on in this moment? And you will get an impulse whether or not you should move or not. Take the decision right now. Is it now or not? It's not now and sometime in the future. Okay, that's an illusion. Moment now becomes very apparent when you must act. And the acting is making the decision. And if you do not allow all that pros and cons trying to dictate to you what decision you should make, and just clear the deck and sit with that. It's like, move now. You get a yes or a no. And the mind will jump in with whatever answer you happen to get. If it's yes, but we didn't look at this, or we didn't look at that, or. But the interesting thing about the heart understands openings. When there's an opening or an opportunity that can be taken. And openings are far more valuable than the lists, because the lists are they're not even concrete, truthfully. When you ever look at a list, you want to believe it's concrete, but it's not. It's possibilities.
Right, it's complete. I figured it all out, but yes, it's just possibilities.
It's like, things that you may or may not like to have. But opportunities, is this the opportune moment to take? Or isn't it? And then pretty much what you're doing is asking yourself, will I be happy setting my feet down on this decision, on this path? Will it move? Because we've all been in situations where a decision basically gives you no movement whatsoever. And that is frustrating, because it winds up being no decision.
Back to your earlier, though, I liked what you were saying, because that whole idea of the mental is all saying, I'm not, the opportunity presents itself. Let's say suddenly something falls into your lap, and you say to yourself, the mind says, I'm not ready. It's too much. I don't know how to do this.
I can't handle it.
I can't handle it. And this is all various forms of fear. But the mind couches it and spins it up into, it'll just be there. We just have to go and learn this and learn that and do this and get this degree, and then we're ready. And we can. But opportunity doesn't ask you if you're ready. as you said, it's just an opening, and what you're given is like Frost's wonderful poem. Two paths diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. Well, what it really says is he took the one which was darker and more rutted and more unsure. Perhaps a path that most people would have passed up. But yet, in the heart's moment, you're presented with the opportunity. I can go this way or that way, and this way sings. It gives me joy. It has heart. It's a path which echoes in my soul. It says, yes, this is what you want to do. And your mind screams, you're not ready. You idiot, you're not ready for that. You can't do that. You don't have the money. And in the information of spirit, the information of faith, the information of grace, you say, I know, mind, I'm not ready. I know I don't know what's going to happen. I accept in the moment of now that I'm going to step into something where it is the unknown. Another analogy, you take a step into darkness, putting your foot forward, not knowing whether it's going to hit empty air, and you're going to tumble into the void. And your mind says you're going to fall. It's a void. You can't do this. You're not ready. And your heart says, you must. You have to. If you go this way, it's a step into faith. It's a step into the unknown without assurances. The mind is looking for, as it always does, guarantees. Oh, suppose this goes wrong. Well, will I get reimbursed? Is there backseas? May I return this later? But the heart...
Yeah, what it reminds me of is when you see the there's some crazy shows on TV that they have a bunch of angel investors.
Oh yeah.
And you have to try to convince these people that the product or the company that you are proposing is viable.
Yes, exactly.
But the thing is, the angel investors, and I hesitate to call them angels, because they want more than half ownership in your company, the thing that you put together. And you sit there and you go, what is my decision? Because, if you take it, they're in charge now, and they get to make the decisions on how things go. The thing that you've tried so hard to put together to make it work. And they see some value in you, but they want to own what you've made.
They want to own, in some ways, a piece of you.
Well, you put yourself into the company, and if they own the company, they own a piece of you.
Yes.
So is that what you want to do, or are you willing to try something else? Because you've made it this far. You were going to try to see what proposal they may have. But you have to be really honest about it. What seems like an opportunity is actually selling you to an outside group that you don't even know. That's the other interesting thing. You really don't know who these people are.
That's, again, that's a good, I like that, because in essence, sometimes opportunity is also wrong. And that's, Cicero talks about that. And still, you could sit there dithering back and forth. Well, they'll put me on the map. They'll put some money into the company. They'll make me a household name. All I have to do is sell my, it's a Faustian bargain. All I have to do is sign on the dotted line and sell your soul.
Right.
Hey, but the other thing is if in the heart, in your heart's moment, you have to center, you have to ground, you have to come into the moment and say, is this what needs to be? Do I have to be more selfless? I have to say, yes, I poured my heart blood, sweat, and tears into this. But now it's time for me to step into a different role. And it can be extremely, there's pride involved here. You feel as though this is not just let's say a product. It's my life's blood. It's me. And maybe what the universe or what spirit is teaching you is that wasn't true. That was something that you needed to commit a lot of resources to, but now you need to. But the point is, though, it could be either way, and you might be dealing with devils rather than angels. But to sit and think that the mind can figure this out, this little itty-bitty lump of fat and neurons is going to figure this out, is truly a conceit. And sometimes you see those shows are interesting because it's very high pressure. And sometimes these guys, you can see that the opportunity is as good as it's going to get. And sometimes these angels, these investors rather, are really savvy and really know the business, and they're saying, well, yeah, you have something here. I admit that. But it's not something that no one else can do, and it's not something that... So they show them reality. Because when you're in your bubble, you're in your I got the best thing ever bubble, you don't understand that. And you get somebody who gives you some real insight and some real sunshine. Says, yeah, this is good. But we're going to have to move fast. We're going to have to get ahead. We're going to have to put a lot of money. You've got to give me the control. And you've got to almost wrestle with your pride. And you can't do that at the mental, and you can't even do it at the emotional. You have to come down into the heart. If you stay in the emotions, it's pride. If you stay in the mental, it's like, well, if they give me 47 cents more. But no, it all comes down to hearing what must be. And maybe, the must be says no. This is not the opportunity I thought it was. This is these are devils, and I'm going to say thank you. And the ones who refuse very gracefully are the ones who I think when you look at it you don't know, but I think that they've come to a heart decision. They say, I really thank you very much for all your insight and all your time, but I'm going to try and do this on my own. And you can almost see that the other ones respect that. Those folks, the ones who are very successful in market, they know about heart decisions. Whether they've come to it through hard knocks or how they've got there, they know that when it feels right and you go with your gut, even though it doesn't look like it could work out and it might be costing too much money and you might not know what you're doing, you follow that instinct. You get there. And once you've done it a couple times, you're like, yeah, okay, forget about the mind, forget about the emotions. Let's just follow the gut. Let's sound into the heart, sound into the ground, and say, yeah, this is what we got to do now. This is,
That is and it's exactly that. In that moment of now, you have to be able to discern exactly what the opportunity is. You have to be able to listen because you may, as you said, you may have had all these ideas on where it's supposed to go and how it fits into this particular niche and the potential there. But the people who are actually in that particular market, they look at it and say, you need development here. It's got to integrate with a whole bunch of other systems here. Or the question I always thought, which was interesting, is when they look at you and say, you're only 6 months ahead of development just by another company to do this. Is we take you in, we have to accelerate it to a point where you have something so unique and special that other people can't copy.
Right.
And that speaks volumes to me because it's like, okay, you know your market, you know how it grows, you know what the potential is.
Right. The other thing they do for them sometimes is they say, I hear your story. Let me tell you that it's all an illusion. You have been drinking your own Kool-Aid in essence, and I'm telling you that what you have isn't as good as you think it is, and that's hard medicine. That's right into pride because you've gone maybe 1,000%, sunk all your money, sunk all your time, ruined relationships, whatever not. You've committed, and you've convinced yourself that this thing is the best idea ever. And somebody who really knows the market looks at you and says, you're 3 months ahead of the competition, and your stuff isn't that good. If I'm going to invest in you, you got to give me full control, and I'm going to move fast, because otherwise you will have nothing in 6 months.
Right.
And that's really, really hard medicine. But yet, in the heart, you can take. If
it's true,
you can take it in the heart.
Right. If it's true, and your heart tells you, yeah, that's what you got. You got 3 months. This is your opportunity.
And if you're honest, your heart was telling you that all along, and your head was telling you no, and your emotion and your pride was saying, oh yeah.
Well, there is a point where people say, I've invested too much for me to be wrong.
Oh, there it is. We've come too far to be wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You want delusion?
That's pride on a platter. That I've put it. That's the old saying is throwing good money after bad. Because in essence, your pride says, well, we can't admit we're wrong. Yes. This is another point of indecision. When your heart says to you, you've got to stop now. It's you've tried your best, and it's time to stop. And pride says no, and the mind says no, we can't be wrong, and pride says no.
I've put too much into it.
Right.
Whether it's money, whether it's life, time.
What you've done, right, is you've allowed it to become your identity. What would Tolle say?
Yeah, but it's, again, you have to be aware of the fact that you've shucked off your humanity and have decided that this story you're telling yourself is what's real.
Well, you've given the story. The story is the right word there. You've given it life through your own, life force energy. You've blown up this balloon, and now you're like, if the balloon is going to pop, I end, because it's so. I've identified myself. The mind says, the ego says, this is an ego. This is an ego.
It's understanding what is ego and what is not. Because the ego wants to take over and say, I'm everything. But it's not. What about all the other aspects of you? And there are many. But if it's only ego, then it's pretty sad.
I mean, this indecision point can be the ego unwillingness to admit. It's not really indecision where, well, it could be this, could be that, I need more information. It could be this, could be that, but I don't want to be wrong. I want to, and people will say, well, you spent 10 years working on that, now you're walking away, you're just an idiot. You have to accept that you could fail, and that your pride has to become subjugated by that, and that's a bitter pill.
Well, you're basically coming right down to disintegrating the I know.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, I know has gotten pumped up to a point where it's bigger than life itself.
Yeah. And that's the steal you blind there, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, it will. And it's a very difficult thing to have enough courage to make that decision, to say, yeah, it's not going to work.
And courage, gur is the heart.
Take heart.
Take heart.
You must make a different decision. And you know when that happens. And it's not easy.
No. Well, I'll tell you what, let's decide to take heart and go back to the studio and listen to some commercials, and on the other side, we'll decide to come back.
The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lyons, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indie Brag Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir. There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
The wait is over. First Blood, Book 2 of the Blood series is out. Your favorite bad boy thief Dev is back, and the beautiful and deadly Trey is right there with him. She is sharp, sexy, and full of surprises. Their adventures continue as a new power arises to threaten the world. The heart of creation is under attack, and time is definitely not on their side as they battle against their enemies' undead hordes. Can they unlock the hidden power that can defeat him, or will his forces draw first blood? Get all 3 installments in the series. Book 0, It's in the Blood. Book 1, Destroyer's Blood, and the new release, Book 2, First Blood, today. Available in ebook and paperback format on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, and most other fine e-tailers.
Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lyons is Book 1 of the adventures of Dev Kalian, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword Betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time.
Hi, this is Hannah Ruth from the band Wild Hum. Check out our new Americana Soul CD, Wild Hum, at our website, wildhummusic.com. And you are listening to the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Soul of the Everyman. Back to Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Yes, we decided to come back, and I'd like to announce that the Soul of the Everyman has been sold, and we will now be called Every Man Has Got Soul. And we've lost control.
Someone's lost control.
I have not. But yes, if you want to buy the program,
Stop.
send an email to...
Awful.
No,
He's awful.
not for sale. But back to Marcus Tullius here a little bit. I like where we were going with this, Margaret, in the sense that these decisions, the decisions we were talking about having to, let's say, get investors in your company, are one thing. People can kind of relate to that, but there are others. There are decisions in your life where you have to make a choice between one path or another, I'm spacing on the guy's name who's Follow Your Bliss, Campbell. So Campbell relates these types of stories too, where at the time when he was young and unknown, he was presented with an opportunity. Do you want to go this way or that way? And he could have, and all of us can relate to this. You can take what appears to be the safe path, or everyone says, that's too risky, and you really should do this, and you should invest, and you should have insurance, and all these things, and yet something within you, and that little voice, which is the heart voice, something within you says, let's take a chance. I really want, it really would fulfill a basic. I have a purpose here. The purpose is not to make sure that you've got all the right investments or that you're doing all the right things or you're following, like we were saying before, the path of least resistance. It's from The Graduate, plastics. He was rebelling. Hoffman, in that wonderful film, was rebelling against the sort of life path that had been charted out for him. You're going to marry this girl, and you're going to do this, and you're going to be this, and banker, and blah blah blah. And it was all so boring, and so planned, and so safe. And some part of his character, and some part of us says, that's great. I could do all those things, but my heart and this opportunity that's in front of me, which looks terrible. It's the path less traveled. It's rutted, it's rocky, it's high, it's low, it's cold. I don't know where my next meal is going to be coming from, whatever it is. But it's part of why I'm here. Maybe not everything. Maybe it is everything. Maybe not. But it's. Well, I mean, the point is that you feel, you're sent here to dream the common dream, and to fill up your experience bank. You're not sent here to, get the right insurance policies and make the right investments. So your heart knows that. It knows that you came here for a purpose that may not be apparent to your mind or your ego or to your emotions. But when something comes in and the bliss meter just ticks up a little bit, so wow, I really love to do that, but I really don't know how, and I don't really have the money, and and Mom might not like it, and all those other little fear things come up, but you really want to. That's where you have to take a decision with those, without any assurances, step into nothing.
Well, it's understanding with an opportunity, something opens up. Will you be able to sustain your decision?
Yeah.
Most people don't think of that. They say, oh, well, I could do this, I could do that. But it's understanding that once you take a step, will I be able to continue down that road? Because people just want to say, oh, yeah, well, I'll just pick a road. But some roads are dead ends. So will you be able to sustain that road? Because that's an automatic dead end if you can't.
Well, and even if it is a dead end, though, I think if you follow your heart, you may come to the end of a dead end and a new decision, and part of that may be realizing that it is a dead end and you have to turn back. But yet, if it fulfills you to have taken that decision, what you may bring back is the experience of failure and the knowledge gained from that, and it'll inform your next bliss decision. Bliss, or do I go this way or that way decision.
Your next moment of now.
Right, because no one says, in even all the paths that are quote unquote safe, that's the illusion. Oh, this is the safe way. This is the way everyone wants you to go. It's going to be great. If you do it this way, you're guaranteed success. And all that's just the illusion too.
It has the appearance of certainty,
mm-hmm.
but nothing is certain down here.
Nothing is certain, and that's the illusion the mind wants to pursue. The mind wants to say, well, if I think about it enough, and I take my time, and I don't make rash decisions, that I'll always succeed, and I'll always be safe, and I'll always do the right thing. And that's just utter bullcrap.
Mm-hmm. It's the truth. It's amazing to watch your mental machinations, reasons why you do things, because that's all based in ego. The ego doesn't know everything. I mean, you really have to go there and understand that your ego is limited. And you are living in a world where almost anything is possible. Where do you want to be? Because that is a fearful place when you look out over vastness. You realize how small you actually are. And that's where fear rises. So when you are at a decision point, and what you're seeing is that your decision reaches into that vastness. Either you don't know, the possibilities are amazing, but the safer path, what does that offer? Where does my heart really want to go? If I take the safer path, will I be contented with this decision? Or will I regret the fact that I never tried?
There you go.
It's understanding that if you have never tried something that your heart was saying, this is a real good possibility, good opportunity, and it feels clear and clean, no hooks, you will have some regret if you go down the other way. And it's admitting that to yourself.
Accepting that too. I mean, the other thing, of course, about all these decisions, if you choose in awareness the safer path, then it's not regret. You can say no to the heart. You can say, the heart, I know, I realize that this is what we would love to do, but there are other things calling me, and I must be I must a little bit die a little bit to self, and go into perhaps someone else needs me. You have to understand that that's a decision too. If you make a decision with it which is not which is in awareness, it is following the right path. I think
in awareness, yes, but your heart also tells you in awareness. Your heart doesn't talk. If your heart is talking to you out of awareness, that's your ego.
Yes, I was inartful in the way I said that. What I mean to say is that the heart may, in awareness, direct you down a path which, yes, everyone says you should go that way, but your heart agrees. You're not going to have regret. If you're doing the other way, if your heart is in disagreement, and you make a decision from ego, and you make a decision not in awareness, you will have, later down the path, you'll sit back there and go, you'll have that midlife, I should have been this, and I should have done that, and if only, I'd had the money or the time, I would have bought that house. You hear it all the time. I would have bought that house, I would have had this thing, and all that is just the ego spinning yet another story about how you would have been this level of multi-bazillionaire, but at the time I didn't have the money. It's this wonderful litany of not just regret, but the kind of lies on top of it that, oh yes, but it wasn't the right time, and all these spinny stories.
What they're saying to themselves is, the reason I am not great is because it's somebody else's fault.
Oh, there you go. That's yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And the definition of great is a very convoluted mental construct. As opposed to understanding that who you actually are deep inside is vast, outside of any concept of great you've ever put together.
Who said, Margaret, I'd rather be a glorious failure than a mediocre success? But that's what kind of what it is. If you follow your heart, you may become a glorious failure. You may in your heart's awareness follow a path which ends in what everyone else would call failure. But yet, it was what you needed to do. Right?
Yeah. Yes. What other people see as failure. You didn't succeed. You weren't capable of saving him. You're an absolute failure. Yes, we failed at the task. But his soul is flying high right now.
Yes. And to personalize it with Christopher, everyone advised us to do it differently. Everyone advised us at some point to give up. And the heart said no. This is not the time. We have a road yet to go, a hard road. But the give up was the easy path. That was what everyone said we should do. Go this way, give up, don't worry, it'll be fine. And we knew, and he knew, but we knew that was wrong. That would have been a much more worse failure, because it would have been a betrayal, not just giving up, but betraying the essence of what he needed to do and what we needed to do with him.
I'll tell you a story. There was a young man who, again, was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of cancer. He was already in the late stages, and they had done a few things to try to really help him. And he and his mom were at a crux point where the doctors were advising that we've done everything, there's no more that we can do. Why don't you just let him come home and enjoy himself, let him do whatever he wants to do? Because the mom's main concern was the fact that he's so active, and he doesn't get to do what he's always wanted to do by going through these chemo procedures and radiation and a number of things. So they decided to follow the doctor's advice. And we were like, okay, it's your decision. 1 month later, he came in, outpatient, pale as a ghost. Basically, his mom told me that he was sledding, and he hit a tree, and he started bleeding. So they brought him immediately to Sloan. And that moment, I still remember that he was in outpatient, and all the other kids were talking to him, and he was in tears because he understood that he may never come out of the hospital. And then, of course, the order comes in, he has to go inpatient. so they put him on the gurney, and they were beginning to roll him in, and he saw his mother, coming towards him. She had just finished talking to me. And just the look on his face as he's going through the doors, he sat up in the gurney, and he extended both arms out to his mother, like, Mom! Mom! The reality, what happens when it's suddenly real to you.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, he had gone in, and, it was a week. That week, he had passed because he didn't have enough to recover from the accident. But it was, again, they're looking at it in terms of, let me just give him whatever life he can have at that point. Because Mom was debating, it's like, should I have kept him home? Should I have kept him quiet? Should I?
Regrets.
Should I? Yeah. Very difficult when it's a mother-child thing, because you're supposed to be responsible for them. But if the child is aware and has decided that, no, I'm going to do this until I can't, do you have enough courage to follow through on that decision?
And, there's no right decision. Maybe this is the other thing that the ego wants, Ma. The ego wants a right decision. The mind wants a right decision. The heart doesn't need a right decision. It just needs a heart decision. It just needs the path with heart. The path with heart may be the hardest path. It may be the path which gives you the least chance of quote-unquote success from the mind's point of view. But if you're following the path with heart, there are no regrets, because at the end of the path with heart, you just say, this is where I need to be. We are not given forever. The illusion of time is, I have time, I can think, I can that, I can this. This is a toxic illusion. It will steal you blind. The heart knows that now is now, and the next moment of now, the previous one is gone as though it had never existed.
The past is an illusion.
Right.
The future
is unknown.
Is the thought.
It's the thought. And this moment of now, taking a decision with the heart, will take you to, let's say, challenging places of great opportunity, great risk, great reward, great fear, greatness, great failure. But if you're following the path of heart, you will not regret a second of it, because you're going and deciding and in awareness taking the next step. In awareness, taking the next step may take you to what all the world says is failure, all the world says is wrong, all the world says is against all the rest of us, Everyone else is going this way, you're going left. Like, why? Because my heart tells me I must go this way. I don't care. You're no longer looking for the approval of the world. You're a monk on a mountain with spices saying, this is great, because that's your path. Or you're in the middle of the city, making $1 million. But if that's your path, it doesn't matter. What matters is you're following it in awareness.
Every life has to find its path. Path of no regret.
There you go. The path, not the path of least resistance.
No, the path of no regret.
Right. And it's not least regret. It's no regret.
Sometimes I wonder, the path well-worn or well-traveled, how many times have the feet that are traveling that path had to double back a few times and keep wearing down that path?
Well, that's an interesting thought. I like that thought. The well-trodden path may be trodden in both directions. You may not be able to tell.
Right.
The ruts.
Right. You can hide.
The the ruts are also analogous to, the mind pathways that get burned into your psyche and into your actual physical mind if you're doing things, in essence, in this sort of a toxic path. If you tell stories, those stories burn pathways in the mind, and then you follow that well-trodden path. Oh, this happened, that happened, they're out to get me, da-da-da. The heart doesn't do that. The heart doesn't leave footprints, interestingly enough. Or if it does, they're very light, because the heart follows an individual's path through life. You may cross paths with another person. You may travel together for a period of time. You have a relationship. But the heart knows that we're all on our own path, and that your footprints and mine, even if they're on the same path, you can see yours, you can see mine, because they're distinct. They may dance together in music, but they don't slog in a line, treading and rutting through the. This isn't a cow mire or a sheep's track. It's like footprints in the sand, and then as you pass by the heart's footprints in the sand, the wave comes and washes them away. But you were there. You were there.
Each person has a unique path.
Yes.
To their own destiny. It
Right.
is as unique as you are. So therefore, your pathway is, as you said, lightly trodden.
Mm-hmm. So let us be up and going, and with a heart for any fate. I know I'm misquoting Longfellow, but...
So let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate. Still achieving, still pursuing. Learn to labor and to wait.
Longfellow is full. I mean, if you want to look at encapsulating the song of the heart in words, in poetry, you can find it in many of Longfellow's poems. That one in particular, Christopher loved, and you found it in that slim little volume. And yet there were many others, Longfellow's poems that speak to the heart.
And then that's really the only way for you not to have to sit there and wonder whether or not you've done what you came down here to do.
There you go.
Okay, I so many, like, I'm down here, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
What's my purpose in life?
Well, it's just, where's my path? Can you tell me? They keep asking. Maybe you have a way of telling, and you're just looking at them going, you're talking from your mind, aren't you?
Yes, your mind hole.
You're not speaking from your heart, aren't you? Do you realize that's what you're doing? No.
They don't.
Because the spin is so tight that I'm amazed their eyes are not spinning back and forth.
Well, the heart, the other way, the heart is very good at detecting spin and seeing it in others and seeing it in... If you become aware, you see it in yourself. You see when you're starting to spin, and the heart can correct that. It's interesting that our Marcus Aurelius says it will steal you blind, because again, true sight, the true vision, the heart's sight can never be blinded. It's a whispering voice with very clear sight. But if you pay attention, you will see. You'll see right through the spin. You'll see right through the indecision.
What that means is that the indecision is a mind spin. And that means that you can't see out of it. You are blind at that point.
Well, you know what I can see?
Mm-hmm.
Tick, tick. So?
We've reached the end of the show. Well, I'm Margaret.
And I'm deciding to be Michael.
And thank you for listening.